Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's webinar, Best Practices and Tips for Using Hubdoc. I'm Dylan and I'm joined by my colleague Jess.
Hi everybody.
And we'll be going through today's webinar. Now, if you do have questions anytime at all during this sort of demonstration of the product and this deep dive into it, you can certainly use the chat box in the GoToWebinar panel there, and Jess will be able to answer those for you, either in the chat or she'll just interrupt and do it if it is relevant to all of our users. So you can see there it's listed under questions in the GoToWebinar. So if you just type your question in there, that is how you can do that. So without further ado, we'll jump into the product. So we're going to go through the webinar. We'll go through sort of how to use it. So going through the dashboard, going through the organizations page, how to add clients, etc. Basic functionality, and then also some admin admin style things. So going through how to change some settings and then some special features as well that we do offer you. So when you first log into Hubdoc, as you may be aware, you will be brought to this organizations page. Just like Xero and QBO, your account will be listed at the top with your client accounts underneath it. To add a client, you can just click on this Add a Client Account button. The first time you do this, you will be brought to a billing page. However, after that, you will just need to input these 4 pieces of information. When setting up the client information, you can input the client's email there, and that will send them an email and prompt them to set up their account. If you did want to go through and set up their account on behalf of them and give them access later, you can certainly do that. So you can either do it by using a fake email address and then just accessing it through your VIP account and going through this organizations page here. Or you can also use a email alias. So if you're using Gmail, for example, which is what our Hubdoc emails are based off, then you can type in your email. So this, for example, is my email here at Hubdoc. And then for the client, I would just put plus client1 or whatever the name of the client is before I create the account. And what that will do is that will allow you to set up the client, and all the emails will be sent to your email address, but the client won't be sent any information. So you'll still get all the information sent to you, but it is a unique email address and allows you to set up a separate Hubdoc account for that client. So that's a useful little tip there for you. So going into manage users, if you do have staff and want to add them, you can input their email address in there. And once you do and click add new user, they'll be listed below here. So you can see I've got Matt and Jess, my colleagues, listed there. And then to give them access, simply click on one of the employees. Click the drop down here, and if you wanted to give them access to everything, you could click grant access to all clients, or if there was just a specific client that they were working on at the time, you can click on that client. So clicking on the client will bring it up here, and you can see there that I've now got the option to revoke access once that employee is finished using that, finished dealing with that account. If the employee does leave the firm, you have the option to delete that employee by clicking on delete user there. So swinging back to the organizations page, another couple of things to note is you can toggle into your clients here, or you can also use the stack icon up here on the left hand side. The docs to review we'll go through in a little bit, but basically this is sort of giving you an indication of what account needs work. So you can see there that in Sunshine Shipping, I've got 10 documents to review, so that might be the client that I'm going to prioritize next. Currently I don't have any icons here in the status column, but the status column flags if a connection or an integration needs your attention. So if one of your automated connections, say for example one of your bank connections, has changed credentials, so say the user's gone and changed their credentials on the portal, that would flag here. So if we're no longer able to access it, there'll be a little triangle here with an exclamation mark, and that would indicate that a connection needs your attention. So you can click on that triangle and that will tell you what is up with the connection, and you can go ahead and fix it there. If one of your downstream integrations need your attention, for example your Xero or your Dropbox account, then it will be a cloud with an exclamation mark. So if you've decided to disconnect the Dropbox from a client's account, that will come up here. You can then click on the cloud and either choose to dismiss it if you intended to to kill that connection and break that off. If you did want to fix it and connect it again, then you can click the fix button and that will allow you to fix the connection there. The last thing to note here is this staff column here. So although you can manage users in the manage user button, you can also manage staff on a client by client basis by clicking on this little button here. So you can see there that I've currently got no employees on this, but if I wanted to add a staff member, I could simply click on that and grant a staff member access to it. Once you click add, you can see that I've got the same ability to revoke access there as well. So that's it for the organizations page. So now we're going to swing into my client, Sunshine Shipping. So when you first sign in, this is what we call the Hubdoc dashboard. And this is the same for both you and your client, because we really want to be that collaboration tool between you both. So you've each got access to the account. You can see the documents in the document stream. You can set up the connections from here. So really working at one with your client there. So the only difference between the accounts will be this stack icon here on the left hand side. So for your account, if you've got multiple clients, you'll be able to see here that you can toggle between your other clients and also toggle back to the organizations page or into your VIP account. So once you set up a client, the first thing they're going to want to do is add an automated connection. So to do that, click on add account and you'll see our list of most popular vendors here. We do have a number of other vendors though, so we have a full list here. If you don't have access to this or haven't been sent it, please let us know in the questions box and Jess would be happy to send you a link through. But you can see there, we've got all the major banks. We've also got some portals like petrol portals, things like Bunnings, Coca-Cola Amatil, for example. And then if you scroll through our SaaS products, you'll come down to the bottom where our utilities and telecommunications companies are as well. So swinging back into Hubdoc, you can select one of our most popular connections here, or you can also go to the search box and search for a connection. So here I've searched for Commonwealth Bank. I can then click on Commonwealth Bank. The client would need to just input their credentials one time and click on Add Account. So what this will do is this will set up a connection between us and the client's Commonwealth Bank account. And we will fetch everything that is available on the portal. So you can see there in just a few moments that all of the most recent statements that are available on the CommBank portal are coming in. And we'll also go and fetch on a nightly basis. So once a document becomes available on the CommBank portal, it will become available the next day in your Hubdoc account. So no need to chase your clients for documents again. We don't want you doing that. That was why Hubdoc was created. So we will ensure that those documents are fetched for you. As I mentioned though, we do fetch everything available on the portal. So if your client has a mix of both personal and business accounts, then we allow you to toggle those off. On the initial fetch though, we will fetch them, but to toggle it off, simply go to Add Account, go to the Hide Accounts tab, and you can see there that my Commonwealth Bank account is listed there, and then you can toggle Stop Fetching. So if there's multiple accounts, the multiple accounts will be listed there, and you can select which account you want us to stop fetching, click the Stop Fetching, click Close, and then on an ongoing basis, so on that nightly fetch that we do, we will no longer fetch from that sub account. From the historical fetch, we will still have that available in Hubdoc, so you can see there that folder is still there with the statements in it from our initial fetch. So you would just need to click on the little down arrow there, click Delete Folder, click OK. That'll send it to the bin, and then once it's in the bin, you can go ahead and click the down arrow again, click Empty Trash, and that would take it off all of our servers, and we will no longer have any personal statements on the Hubdoc account. So great little tip there if you do have a mix of business and personal statements. We don't just fetch from bank portals though, we also fetch from online vendors such as telecommunications companies, utilities companies, and SaaS products. If they are invoices that we're fetching, then we will instantly extract the information from that for you. So if I swing over into my edit data bar, you can see there that we've extracted the vendor name, the date, and the total amount from this invoice, ready for you to code that across to your Xero account. We'll go through this edit data bar and publishing documents across to zero in just a few moments. So one thing to note is with this folder structure here, we do have this on a bills and statements and uploads basis. So what that means is all of our documents that are from automated connections will come up under bills and statements. So you can see there that that's where CommBank and Telstra are listed. And if they are from manual connections, which we'll go through in just a moment, they will come up under uploads. You can go ahead and change this though, so you can see there that I've got an office expenses folder there. And to do that, you would just need to click on all documents, clicking on the down arrow, clicking on add new folder, and then you would type in whatever the new master folder you'd want to be. So you can see there that I'm going to create a new folder for telecommunications, and then I would just need to click enter. So enter will ensure it saves it. So if you just click out of it, it won't create the folder. So just make sure you click enter there. And then once you've done that, what you'll need to do is drag the documents from wherever you are. So from bills and statements, for example, for Telstra, I'm going to drag those into telecommunications. So that's for all the previous documents. So all the historical documents are now stored there. But on an ongoing basis, you would need to make an account level change in order for us to get those new documents and put them into telecommunications and Telstra. So to do that, you would just click on add account. You'd go to manage accounts, you'd scroll down and select your Telstra, and you can see there that this drop down menu appears. I'll go through all the other elements of this drop down in later on in the webinar, but getting to the bottom of it, you'll see there that you can, sorry, it's actually right at the top, my apologies. So you can see there that the document location is currently set to bills and statements /Telstra. So we just want to edit that location. We want it to go away from bills and statements Telstra. We want it to go to telecommunications Telstra. So then click select, and you'll see there that we've now updated that document location so that all future documents are then being sent to telecommunications Telstra folder. So that's sort of the automated side of Hubdoc. That's our bread and butter, and that's where you can really speed up your practice and automate as much as possible. So if I recommend going through that list of live connections and seeing what is available there and what you can use for your clients, because that's where you'll see the most value out of Hubdoc. But obviously we understand that not everything is available online as yet, as much as we'd like it to be. So we do have the manual side as well. So we have the Hubdoc app. We also have a unique email address, or you can drag and drop from your computer. So I'm just going to show you how to upload a document using the unique email address. So you can see there my unique email address is sunshineshipping@app.hubdoc.com. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that to my clipboard. I'm then going to go to a new email. I'm just going to paste that, and then I'm going to go ahead and attach a document. So I'm just going to attach an Apple receipt there. So that's been attached. And now when you're sending documents in via email, you can also add some additional information by adding notes. So to add a note, you would just need to type in #note and then input your message. So I'm just going to say Dylan, new Apple computer, and then close it off by #note, and that will ensure that we don't include your signature or anything else in the email in that note. So then I'm just going to hit send, and that will send into my Hubdoc account, and you'll then see it appearing in the processing tab. It may just take a few moments, so you can see that there. So that invoice has just been sent through, and we have the document. So you can see there that there's a little clock icon. So that clock icon means it's in the processing phase. So our OCR technology takes between 10 and 20 hours to extract the information. And then once it does, what will happen is it will go from the processing tab with the blue clock automatically over to the review tab with an exclamation mark and a triangle. And you can see there that we've now extracted the vendor name, the date, and the total amount from that receipt. That will then sit in review, and this is sort of your inbox, I guess, this tab. So this is what will flag up on the organizations page with the documents to review. So any new documents we fetch from online vendors on a going forward basis, or any documents that have finished processing, will end up here. If you are in a time crunch though, and you do want to manually complete this document, we do give you that option. So you'll see here that a preview is available so that you can go ahead, go over to the edit data bar and then input that information there. If you do watch the document stub though, as I do this, if I change any item on this edit data bar, it will go from the processing tab into the review tab. So you see there I changed the vendor name to Apple. It's gone out of processing, it's now in review, and that means it's out of our OCR queue. So you will need to go ahead and complete the rest of it manually if you do decide to do that. So if you want it to automatically extract the information, definitely recommend leaving it in the processing tab. So going down to publishing documents across to Xero. So I'm just going to go and get my Telstra bill, and you can see here that we're going to go down through the edit data bar. So we've extracted the vendor name, date, and amount, as I said previously. With the tax rate, we don't currently extract tax information from documents as yet. It is in the pipeline though, and will be available sometime in the future. But for the moment, what we do allow you to do is set up a tax level rule. So you can set up this on a vendor basis, and say if it was GST on expenses, which is the most common one, then we'll apply that rule on a going forward basis once you select save configuration, which I'll show you in just a moment. With this Telstra invoice though, you can see there that $13.64 is not the GST on a $379 bill. So what we'll do is select extracted amount. Extracted amount will allow us to automatically populate the taxable and non-taxable line items. So to do this, what I would need to do is select extracted amount. In the tax amount, I would put the amount of GST on that receipt. I would then go and select what tax rate I want to apply to the taxable portion, what tax rate I want to apply to the untaxed portion, and what chart of account I want to use from Xero or QBO. So you can see I've chosen telephone and internet. Once I've done that, I'll click generate line items, and you'll see there that those will automatically populate for me, and then I can click save and close, and that will be ready to go. So the paid status here is an internal note. So what it does is it puts a banner on both the document preview and the document stub. A common use case for this is to show when a document has been published across to Xero. So if you do publish a document across, it will leave the review tab and go to the archive tab with a green check mark next to it. But if you wanted a better visual cue to see what had been published across, then as you're publishing documents across, just flick it as paid, and then when you're going through the document stream, you'll be able to easily see what documents have and haven't been pushed across to your accounting platform. So scrolling down, you can see here, this is our options to publish across to Xero. So we do give you all 5 options for the accounts payable side of accounting for Xero. This one I'm going to publish across as a purchase. It's going to be a draft, and we'll also bring in your contacts list from Xero. So you can see there that I'm going to select Telstra, and then you can click Save Configuration. So Save Configuration means that we're going to use these same settings every single time we publish a document across to Xero, and this will apply on a going forward basis. So if there are documents that are already in Hubdoc and already in the review tab, then they won't be applied to those, and you will need to manually do it. However, on a going forward basis, when they're uploaded and go through our OCR technology, if you have selected Save Configuration, when they move to the Review tab, we will apply these settings to that document. A really powerful tool is this AutoSync tool. So if the document is going to be configured the same way every single time and is from the same vendor, so for example, if I had what's a good example? If I had a Telstra invoice, for example, that had the GST amount was from the total amount, so sorry about that. So if the GST was correct and was 10% every single time, then what I could do is I could select auto sync. So what auto sync will do is as soon as a document is available on the portal, we'll fetch it into Hubdoc and then we'll automatically push that across to your Xero account. So if you publish it across as authorized as well, we'll also match it in the bank feed. So we'll push it across and get it into the bank feed, and then you can have a one-touch reconciliation there. So it's a really powerful tool and will really speed up your practice and how your workflow is. But again, it just needs to be a document that comes in the same every time and that doesn't need to be dealt with in the edit data bar. So if that isn't the case, then you can certainly use that auto sync and it will really streamline your workflow. So swinging across into Xero, we will see our list of current draft purchases. You'll see there that Telstra bill is sitting there. So if I click on that, you'll see that the taxable and non-taxable line items are there, as well as a copy of the invoice, automatically audit-proofing your client as you would expect. This is also a copy that is in Xero, so it isn't connected to the Hubdoc account. So should you ever disconnect your Hubdoc account from Xero, these previews and documents will be available and downloadable from your Xero account. So swinging back into Hubdoc, now we'll go through some of the administration stuff. So we've gone through the functionality. Now let's go through our settings. So to set up Xero, you would want to go to Destinations. So I just clicked on Accounts up here on the top right-hand corner. I then selected the Destinations tab, and this is where I would set up my Xero account. So there would be a button there that says Connect, and I clicked on that. And then once connected, it will give me these options. So it will prompt me to go through and select what client I wanted to connect this to. So I've gone ahead and selected Sunshine Shipping from my Xero account. And then I've toggled this published tax data. So what that means is we'll then bring in your tax rates from Xero. So it's really important that you do click this, and that will also allow you to use extracted amount as well. So if you want to use that extracted amount tool or use tax rates, which I would suggest that it's probably the case, then make sure that published tax data is selected and you select the default and default tax exempt rate. If you are using Xero files as a cloud storage platform, we do connect to that and allow you to push documents to Xero files. To do that, simply toggle that checkbox there. Same process would go for QuickBooks. So if you were using QBO, you would click on Connect there and then select Publish Tax Data in just the same way. So scrolling down to our cloud storage platforms, you can see there that we connect to Box, SmartVault, Dropbox, ShareFile, and Google Drive. I've connected to our Dropbox account, and you can see there that I've selected a document destination folder. So if you have folders within your multiple folders within your Dropbox account or your Google Drive account, for example, you can change the direction of where these go, but just make sure that you are selecting. So when you first log in, make sure you select the folders as they appear in your Dropbox account, named identically, and that you use forward slashes in between so that it goes to the right place. So if you're having problems pushing across to Dropbox, it may just be because of the naming convention there. So just ensure that you do get that right. If you're having any problems though, please let us know. I'll show you how to submit a ticket a bit later on in the webinar. So with the Dropbox folder structure and any other of our cloud storage platforms, we do allow you to put them all in one folder, or we can mimic the folder structure that you set up in Hubdoc. If you wanted documents to go from Hubdoc to an email address, we do allow you to forward those on. So you can select an email address that you wanted to forward those documents to by inputting that there. So swinging across to the Profile tab, this is where all of your general account settings are. So this is where you could change your name, your company, email. One thing to note is sometimes when it gets set up, it may be set up in a different currency. So make sure your base currency is selected as AUD. And also sometimes the date format is set up in the North American date format. We are a Canadian-based company, so we do apologize for that. But if you wanted to change that, simply go here and select day, month, year, so that it is in the Aussie format. You can change your password here too by using that, and then scrolling down, you'll see our uploading files via email. So the first time you set up your Hubdoc account, the unique intake email address that you saw here that I had, it will not be as intuitive as my one is here. So I've gone ahead and changed that. If you'd like to do the same, you can certainly do that in that profile tab. So go into accounts, click on profile, scroll down, and then click the edit button here. You can then go ahead and change the prefix to whatever you would like it to be. So generally the name of the client or something similar. And then it's nice and easy to hand out to suppliers or for your clients to remember when they need to upload documents into Hubdoc. Also, just remember the @app.hubdoc.com. So the app is really important. If you don't use the app, it will get sent to our general Hubdoc support email, and we will be forwarding it back to you and letting you know. So just remember that app, and that will ensure that it goes into your Hubdoc account. So the always create a document from the email body just means that if you type any messages in the email body, we will create a document from that. So it may not be a use case for you, but if you wanted that to be the case, then you certainly can select that. Data extraction. So data extraction means the documents that are uploaded into Hubdoc are going to our OCR technology. So if they're coming in and they are getting a check mark and not going to the processing phase, so it looks like we're not doing anything with them, just come in here and have a look and make sure that the data extraction hasn't been turned off by accident. So scrolling down, you will see that there's invite users to access your Hubdoc account. So the use case for this is if you've got a client that wants to pay for their Hubdoc account and just give you access, what they would need to do is they would need to sign up for an account on their own. They would then go ahead and pay for that account. And then once they've got their account set up, or if they wanted you to set it up for them, then they would input your email address in there and click add. So that's the use case there on collaborators. So once they give you access there, it would just be listed with the rest of your clients on the organizations page that you saw previously. So the last list of settings that we're going to go through is the Manage Accounts tab. So this is what we referred to a little bit earlier. So you can see there with Telstra, we went through and changed the location. So scrolling down a little bit further, if you've got AutoSync set up and you want to show that documents being published over to Xero are being flagged as paid, then what you would do is you would set this up as an auto pay account. So what that means is we will put that paid banner on all of those documents to show that they've been pushed across to Xero automatically. Auto archiving means that it will skip the review phase. So auto archiving happens on the historical fetch. So if you have an automated connection and you set it up for the first time, then we will auto archive all of those documents as we will assume that you have dealt with those in the past. On a going forward basis though, if it is from an online vendor, say for example Telstra or Energy Australia, then what you can do is you can check auto archive and that will stop it from going to the review tab and automatically putting it into archived. So if it's bank accounts, we'll automatically select auto archive. So with bank accounts, we fetch them for you for reconciliation purposes and audit proofing purposes. So we don't recommend publishing those across to your accounting platform. And because you're not dealing with them, we'll set it up as auto archive. If you wanted to check them and be notified and then be in that review tab when you sign into your Hubdoc account, then what you would need to do is come into this page here, go to Manage Accounts, and then uncheck that because that will be set up there by default. So going down to email alerts. So whenever we have a document come into Hubdoc, we will notify you. If there's a due date that we've extracted as well, or a due date that you've put in, we'll also send you an email and let you know that that is coming up to be due. So if you wanted to turn those off, you could check those there. So for configuring rules to Xero, so you can set these up at an account level. So if you wanted to do that before they come into Hubdoc, you can certainly do that. So you would click on this configure rules for Xero. This is where you would choose whether it's auto sync or not. And then you could go ahead and in this section here, choose how you wanted to configure those documents for Xero. If you wanted to send it to email addresses, you could also do that here. So you can see there forward to email addresses. So I have my dylanburgess27@hotmail.com email address there. So if I wanted to send those documents through, I could go ahead and click that there. Auto sync to Dropbox. So if you have a document that comes in Hubdoc and you do want to push it to your cloud storage platform, you can certainly do that by clicking this auto sync there, or you can push those documents through manually. So I'll show you how to do that in just a few moments. But make sure you click save once you've changed your settings. So that will make sure that everything that you've just changed has been saved. You can also do this for manual accounts. So that's the automated account side. If you've got manual vendors, you can certainly do that. I recommend, if you know a couple of vendors that your client uses all the time and is going to be uploading documents from, when you set up the account, put them in here and set up the rules for them so that when we extract the information from them, we do add those rules for you. So you can see here I can create a vendor. So if I wanted to create, for example, Harvey Norman, I could type in Harvey Norman here, click create vendor. And then once created, I can go ahead and set up my rules. So I can set up where I want that document to go. So by default, because it's a manual account, it will come up under uploads and Harvey Norman. But if you had another folder that you'd set up, you can certainly change that location there. And then you can scroll down and you can set up the rules for 0. Go down and hit save. And when that document comes into Hubdoc from Harvey Norman, we'll automatically apply those rules that you've set up. So with the automated account, so with the automated accounts, we are going to show how to manually push to cloud storage platforms. So I've set up Dropbox. So if I just click on this little down arrow here, you'll see that Dropbox is available for me there. So I can click push to Dropbox, and that will push all of these folders and all the documents in them to my Dropbox account, depending on how I set those settings up in the Destinations tab. And then swinging over to my Dropbox account, you can see there that the folders have been created. And if I go into one of them, for example, Telstra, you'll see that all those invoices are there, creating data redundancy for you. So that's an overview of the product, and hopefully that's been a little bit of help. I will open the floor now to questions if anybody has some, so please feel free to put those in the question box. I'll be happy to go through those for you. So we just had a great question regarding employees. So with employees, the question was, can employees use the Hubdoc app and upload documents into Hubdoc? Now, great question. And if you've got a small business that has multiple employees, they can do this. However, we recommend using the unique email address. The reason for this is if they log into the app, then they will have access to all the documents in Hubdoc. User permissions is certainly on our roadmap and will be available in the future, but currently isn't there. So if you wanted to do that, give them a unique email address. They can snap a photo on their phone and use that share button and share it via email and send it through to the unique email address by doing that. If you've got a managing director or another user, they can either log in using the same login details as the small business account, or you can set them up and add a collaborator. So you can add them as a collaborator by going to accounts, profile, and inputting the email address of, say, another managing director or another manager from the firm. but please be aware that when you log into the app, they will log into a shell account. So they would need to toggle in to the client account. So they would need to make sure when they log into the app, they toggle into the correct account to make sure that the documents become available in Hubdoc. So to avoid confusion, what we generally recommend is they either log into the actual small business admin account or they upload documents via the unique intake email address. So great question, and I hope that answers it for you. Another question we just had too was regarding what are these blue items down the bottom here that say tags. So tags is another way of grouping documents. So you can see here that I've grouped documents via meals. So up the top in our normal folder structure, what we did is we grouped documents by vendor name. If you want to group documents by something else, say for example a business trip, a quarterly, so if you want to group documents by when they come in, so on a quarterly basis, you can do that by adding tags. So you can see here I've got meals. So to add a tag, what you would do is you would click on a document, you would go up here to add tag, and you can see here that I could say maybe for example August meals. So if I clicked on August meals, clicked enter, that would add another tag there. It would create another sort of subfolder, for example, and then everything on a going forward basis that I bring into Hubdoc would have August meals attached to it and grouped together. So if I delete that, it will also remove it from August meals, and you'll see there's no documents now, and you can go ahead and delete that tag by clicking on the down arrow there. The tags are also available in the Hubdoc app. So when you go into the Hubdoc app, you snap a photo, there is the option to add a tag there. So you can certainly do that as well to help identify where that expense is coming from. So a couple of great questions there. If there's no other questions, I am just going to run through a few sort of support things. So if you have an account and it comes up and saying that it needs your attention, sometimes this happens from time to time and you can't fix it, what I recommend doing is updating the account. So sometimes there'll be a little error here. Click on update account and I'll just refresh the connection to see if that works. If it doesn't, then please let us know. So you can do that by reporting a problem down here. That'll send us a note and we'll get back to you. If it's between 8 and 6 p.m, we will get back to you within the hour. If it is after that, we'll certainly check it and get back to you as soon as possible. You can also edit credentials here. So if the user has updated the credentials, you can go ahead and fix that by clicking edit credentials there and inputting those details there. If you no longer need a connection, you can also delete the connection from here as well. Another couple of options to reach out to us at support is you can do it within the app by going up here and going submit a ticket. So if you click on that, that will send it to our support email. And again, if it is between 8 and 6 p.m., 8 a.m. till 6 p.m., Monday to Friday, we will get back to you within the hour, generally less. And if it's outside of those hours, we'll get back to you as soon as possible. You can also submit a ticket by emailing us at support@hubdoc.com.au. Or if you wanted to call through and want an immediate response, you can certainly do that too. The mobile number, the phone number to call is 08 744 5026. So if you don't have that phone number, just flag it in the chat box and put it as a question, and Jess will be happy to send that to you so that is on file for you. So that's it for today's webinar. Thank you so much for attending. I hope it's been helpful and you've got something out of it. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are here to help. And until next time, happy Hubdocking.